Hi, everyone. Welcome back. Dr. B here, your host for the final episode in 2023 of the podcast called Ask the Dentist. Thank you for listening all of these years. I greatly appreciate your interest in oral health. And today we're just going to talk about what went on this year. It was a good year for oral health. If it was a good year for oral health, it was a good year for systemic health. Sorry, I couldn't resist putting that in there. We're going to talk mostly about products, things that really impressed me, things that upped the game for better oral health, and a few things about next year. And again, it really, we grew a lot. Ask the Dentist grew a lot. I created a new company along with Dr. Staci and my daughter, a new oral care product company called Fygg. We're going to talk a little bit about that. And there were some new products that really moved the needle in terms of oral health. And there's some exciting news, I think, coming for next year as well. And we'll talk about that. So anyway, thanks for being here. I hope everyone's planning a restful holiday season. Restful is the key word there. It's a great time to wind down. The days are short. We can go to bed early because it gets dark early. Put away those phones. It's not the blue light, it's the information on the phone. Spend time with your family, sit by the fire, read, cook, and just reflect back on this year, and certainly a better year for most, uh, considering the years before this, the COVID era. So anyway, that's what I'm planning on doing. We're leaving Wednesday morning, and we won't be back for about a week and a half. The grandkids are coming. I am excited about trying to influence my grandkids. A lot of these products, oral care products, are coming with me. That's part of the plan, and certainly my wife and I will be baking and making food and hoping that they like what we serve them because we know it's good for them. So anyway, I'm sure you're in the same boat. Anyway, let me just start off with, and a lot of these items that I'm going to discuss, I've done podcasts on, and I'll try and include the episode that where we discuss that item. The first big thing, and it didn't come out this year, it came out last year, but this was the first full year where we really talked about it a lot and did some CE, continuing education for dentists, for providers. It is now found in a lot of offices. A lot of you have tested. And again, the more you test, the more information you get. Again, testing over time is the key, getting a baseline and then seeing based on what you do in terms of lifestyle habits, diet, and brushing and all of that, choices that you make, how that influences your oral microbiome. So oral microbiome testing, this, of course, I'm referring to the Bristle test. They're out of San Diego, and this still currently is my favorite test by a wide margin. And they're a wonderful company, and they are moving aggressively in terms of collecting data and doing studies. I've interviewed the CSO, David Lynn, PhD, several times, and he is a wealth of information. And I get a lot of my information from him in terms of what works and what doesn't. And again, that's the way to do it. Make a decision based on raw data and research. So the Bristle test, they also sell a very unique probiotic. For a long time, I wasn't big on probiotics because I didn't think they did anything until this came along, which is a very unique blend. Again, it's all about which colonies and which species you include in there. And again, this is based on their research as well, and having seen a lot of test results. And so this is a very exciting product. It's on our store, and this is now a probiotic that I recommend. I've always been heavily recommending or emphasizing prebiotics. Again, that's a no-brainer. Just provide what your bacteria need, give them the food that they need, the nourishment that they need, and typically they'll take care of themselves. As long as your mouth is not too dry, you're not mouth breathing, you're not blasting it with toothpaste and mouthwash and products that are disinfecting the biome. So again, less typically is better. then more. But again, in this case, this probiotic I really like. I've seen the results of actually how it works. Another product that I haven't really talked about a lot. I talked about it a long time ago with not an older version, their original version. I'm a big fan of xylitol. This is xylitol, not in the mouth, it's up the nose. It's a nose spray. X-Clear, Xlear. I'm not sure we have this in our store at this point. This is a rather new product. And since I've been using this now well, the original product in the last 5, 6 years, I've never, ever been fully obstructed due to a cold or a stuffy nose. It's always, always clear, even if I have a cold. And this I used before a podcast. I think it was it was for the Skinny Confidential in Austin. I was stuffed up and this cleared me up. And I'm so glad that they had it in the store. It's loaded with grapefruit extract and xylitol. These are prebiotics, and they help stabilize and nourish, sounds familiar, doesn't it? The nasal biome so that it can do its job. And then they add a little capsicum. It's a pepper. And that kind of, it doesn't burn, it doesn't smell bad. It just kind of loosens things up very, very quickly before you have to sit down and get interviewed for 2 hours. So that works well. The reason your biome in the nose is so important, if you don't get the right mucus consistency, again, this is like biofilm in the mouth, all those little cilia, those little hairs that are waving and moving that layer of mucus out and getting rid of toxins because the nose is a big filter. And those cilia beat at about 16 times per minute. Interesting that it's about that. That's about a average normal resting respiratory rate. That's important. And if you're not using your nose, if it's dry, if the microbiome in the nose is not healthy and not commensal, symbiotic, doing well, then you're not going to have that feature of ridding yourself of viruses and filtering for it and you know, assuring well-being and a clear nose and a clear airway so that you can breathe through your nose. And obviously there are benefits of breathing through your nose as opposed to breathing through your mouth. So that's a great product. We have not the older version. They still make it the original version without the pepper in it. And we're gonna add that next month to our store. Okay. I'm going to throw in mouth tape. Again, we haven't changed our recommendation. There are lots of new mouth tapes on the market. The reason I'm bringing this up is because I was recommending this about 8, 9 years ago. It wasn't this tape because it wasn't available or I wasn't aware of it. And tapes back then were a little tough and they would peel off your skin. They were a little too sticky. And the reason I'm bringing this up is because this works. It's inexpensive. You can pull out however much you want. If it's just vertical, you can use less. If it's horizontal, you can use more. It works with children. It's kind, great with facial hair, kind to sensitive skin, especially if you rip it off too quickly in the morning. It really, it checks all the boxes and it works. So why bring up mouth tape at this point? This is now mainstream. Mouth taping, I was ridiculed for a long time by MDs, especially ear, nose, and throat. And, there's a little controversy now on TikTok. Everyone's talking about it. Sometimes they get it wrong on why you should do it. And then the MDs come on and they just poo-poo it and everything. This is now mainstream. A lot of people are mouth taping and there are benefits to it. And I'm not going to go into detail about it, but I just wanted to bring this up. This is right now, I think, the least expensive, most usable mouth tape, most readily available mouth tape on the market. Yes, there may be some new tapes coming out that have 100% natural silk, less synthetic adhesives, and I'm looking into that. But again, I'm not too concerned about what I put over my lips at night. I am very concerned about keeping my mouth closed all night long for oral health, but also for breathing and good parasympathetic tone when you're sleeping and deeper sleep. So just wanted to remind everyone, this is now mainstream. There's no controversy. This works. It doesn't doesn't solve sleep apnea, but it does many, many things, including telling you that you have sleep apnea, which is a wonderful thing to be able to diagnose yourself at home. Uh, you've heard me talk a lot about this. We've got lots of links. There's lots of information now on the web about mouth taping. All right. Let's see. Gum. I was never a big gum chewer. In fact, I told people not to chew gum. Just don't overwork these muscles. I was a little bit of a clencher in my early years until I fixed my sleep apnea. Um, and gum chewing was not the right thing to do. It just would activate these muscles of mastication, chewing, even alter your muscles of facial expression, and then prevent the jaw from dropping and maybe moving forward at night because the muscles are tight, or you're grinding all night long, which pulls the jaw in and up. But it does, sleep bruxism, grinding at night, does wake up the muscles of the airway and open it up. So there could be a connection there. Probably, again, a little bit still controversial because we don't have a smoking gun on that yet in studies. But anyway, back to chewing gum. Um, we did an episode on this. I ran across some research, several studies, and they were 20 years old on how xylitol gum, if chewed by the mother of a child, even though the child didn't have any teeth yet, this would be an infant, that when the teeth did erupt and mom kept chewing the xylitol gum, the incidence of decay in that child was up to 90% less. It's actually a little higher than that. But we talked about it in the episode. I'll include the link. Definitely review that again. Obviously, if the child chews xylitol gum, that's great too. But it just really illustrates the ability of the biome of a mom to be transferred to a child. And if mom has a biome that has a predilection to decay and gum disease, which most adults do, by the way, the majority of us do, that can be passed on to the child very quickly. This slows it down. The podcast episode explains how that works. My favorite gum, and I've tried a lot of them. Again, I was looking for clean ingredients and no plastics, uh, free of all the stuff that we need to worry about in manufactured products. This is a very decent gum. It tastes good. The flavor doesn't last very long, but again, you don't have to chew for very long. Gum chewing doesn't mean you have to chew for an hour. You chew for a few minutes or 5 minutes or 10 minutes if you want. The flavor is gone in about 2 to 3 or 4 minutes. It's delicious. I never thought I would like strawberry lemon, but that's my favorite out of the four. It's called Happy PPL Gum. They are not on my store, or perhaps they are now. I have no affiliation with them other than if you buy this off the store, I think I get a commission off of Amazon. But for a long time, it wasn't on our store, and I've been recommending this because it's my favorite. And they tell you how much xylitol per chew. I think it's 2 milligrams, 2 to 3 milligrams. That's wonderful because the studies also talk about how much xylitol you need for that effect that I was talking about, and saving your kid from getting cavities. And I think it started at 4 and maxed out at 10. And the sweet spot was, again, listen to the episode, I think it was 4 to 6 milligrams. So chew 2 of these, maybe once or twice a day, and that will really help a lot. Plus, you get to chew a little gum. How wonderful is that? It helps promote saliva. The time to chew gum, just as an aside, is let's say you've had some coffee, you've had a glass of wine, some orange juice. I wouldn't recommend that. Maybe not the wine either, but you can live a little bit. Just keep it to 4 ounces. Coffee, my green tea, which I love, that's a little acidic. Or you've eaten a lot of crackers and kind of junky food, and all of these foods, whether directly or indirectly, will lower the pH in your mouth. And that's the last time, that's not the time you want to be brushing. You want to let the saliva rebuffer and neutralize the acids in your mouth, and you don't want to be brushing because you're literally going to brush off some enamel. Instead of doing that, you can chew gum. This promotes salivation, and it will stabilize the pH a lot sooner just by chewing the gum. Not necessarily because of the xylitol will have an effect, but just the fact of chewing gum and salivating. All right, there's that. Okay, two more, well, a few more products, but two more categories. This was the one that really blew me away, surprised me. Um, I forget how I came across it, but as soon as I saw it, I said, I got to try that. And even then, I didn't have the proper notion of how much of a game changer this product is. I do represent them. I do some advertising for them. I hope that doesn't detract from what I'm about to say, but I have given up conventional floss and I have given up my old recommendation of floss sticks because they don't work as well as this. I think most of you know what I'm talking about, and that is the Slate electric flosser. Uh, I know I use this term a lot. It really is at least I'm not using the word paradigm shift. It is a game changer. You can scrape your tongue with it. It is electric, sonic. Um, it's PFAS free, so you don't have to worry about the plastics. And then these gum sweeps. It does a much better job. It's easier to use. It's quicker to use. It's more efficient. And given all that, if it does a better job, why wouldn't you be using this? This is a great investment. I highly recommend that you try this and stick with it. Everyone that has tried this, that has gotten back to me, um, has gone on and on and on about this and how wonderful it is in so many regards. Easy to use, wonderful, brings the joy back to flossing. Now I floss. Now I'm a flosser. I wasn't a flosser before. Things like that. Try it on your kids. There's no age restrictions at all. Be gentle with kids, introduce them to it, make sure they have their own, maybe write their name on it, let them color it with some, not crayons, but, kind of wet ink, colorful markers, and let them try this as you're trying it. And it's easier for them. Wrapping floss around your fingers and getting it in your mouth, and it's that rarely happens well and goes well for most patients, and then we tolerate it when we get good at it. So again, Slate Flosser, I've done a lot of ads for them. I hope they do very well. This is going to lower the rate of oral health disease and oral microbiome dysbiosis in this country as it gets utilized and as they sell more of these units. And by the way, they are doing very well. So people recognize a good product when they see it. All right, one last product. You've relied on me for a lot of toothpaste recommendations. Everybody wants to know toothpaste is the magic pill in the oral health industry, and that's not necessarily a good thing. Toothpaste is a necessary evil because of another evil that we have introduced into our environment, and that is a very poor, highly carcinogenic diet that also, and again, the two always go together, also a diet that creates conditions, metabolic conditions, diabetes, obesity, insulin resistance, however you want to call it, inflammation in the body, which then intensifies oral diseases like gum disease. It enhances the inflammation in your mouth, essentially. It makes it worse. And of course, they're tied. Gum disease and diabetes are a kind of a two-way street. They both affect each other. We've talked about that. I'll try and put a link there. I'm thinking of an episode that we did on that. Again, a metabolic disorder. And so we thought we would just make a better toothpaste that would counter the effects of a poor diet, causing the number one, in turn, causing the poor diet that we have created has now caused the number one disease in the world, and that is decay, tooth decay. We see it just as a hard tissue issue. We've seen it as just being ubiquitous and commonplace and a given. And it's not, it's a disease. And our ancestors very rarely had a cavity, where now it's the norm. And most of us have had one cavity. 90% of us have a cavity by age 40. Kids are running at 50, 60%, but multiple cavities. And that's in their baby teeth as well as their adult teeth. And we know why. It's not because you're not brushing and flossing. uh, it's not because of that. It's because of our diet. And if you think you're good at brushing and flossing and you're using the right products, you still may have an issue, even if you're the perfect compliant patient. And I think that's a mixed message that we are guilty of putting forward to you. You come in, you have a cavity, some bleeding gums, and we tell you, well, it's probably because you haven't been flossing. And it's easy for us to say that because most people are not flossing. And they're like, oh gosh, darn, you're right. Okay. And then they go home, they try and floss for a few weeks, and then they stop flossing. And then it's a cycle that perpetuates the lie. And we are eating a crazy diet, just like this diet is causing chronic diseases in our society. The uh, biggest incidence of chronic diseases we've ever seen as a species, as does it's now causing cavities and gum disease, chronic diseases in the mouth as well. So we thought toothpaste would solve that, the magic pill. It does not. And here's where we made it worse. We made a product that actually um, intensifies oral disease, mouthwash, toothpaste. Um, these are products that came on the market the turn of the last century, the 1900s, late 1800s, literally came out of the back of a snake oil salesman out of the covered wagon into mainstream before World War I, and no science there at all. And most of these were loaded with bactericidals like eucalyptus oil. They tasted terrible, they smelled terrible, and they killed for a short time. They knocked down the oral microbiome. We didn't even know about the oral microbiome. We didn't even know about the gut microbiome back then. Knocked it all down, made it worse, gave us bad breath, made us want to use more of the product because it had that smell of mintiness or some botanical or product. We used soap in our mouth. We were denaturing all the lipid layers. This is the lining of our oral mucosa and the cells of the oral microbiome with surfactants and emulsifiers. We were washing our mouths out with soaps and other crazy chemicals that actually promoted oral disease and hence then systemic disease. For example, mouthwash. 2/3 of America uses mouthwash twice a day. About 2/3 of us have high blood pressure. I'm not saying there's a direct correlation, but I'm trying to illustrate the fact that, and we know this, that if you stop using mouthwash, a lot of us, our high blood pressure scores go down. There is a direct correlation, and I'm talking about in 6 days, 6 to 7 to 8 days. By destroying the oral microbiome with a strong mouthwash, you're destroying bacteria that are responsible for releasing this gas called nitric oxide. And that gas, very short-lived, so it has to be manufactured constantly. By not having that gas on board, which is imperative for many other reasons, but it also helps dilate blood vessels and it reduces your blood pressure. So there are a lot of oral care products out there that we've been using for centuries, more than a century, less than 2 centuries, that are destroying us, that are making our lives worse, and they're costing a lot of money, and they're really not doing what they should be doing. So in light of that, my business partner, my daughter, and Dr. Staci, a pediatric dentist in Portland, Oregon, many of you know her well, we got together and said, enough of this. And we created a product, a new product line, and it's called Fygg, Feed Your Good Guys. And we wanted to promote a very positive message. We're not disinfecting and killing and destroying things and nuking and trying to freshen everything up by doing that. We're trying to nourish the oral microbiome so that to promote better oral health. We have a child's version. We've got actually 4 flavors. Don't have the other 2. They sold out. They're wonderful. We took out, they taste wonderful. The taste is addictive, according to people that we've tested it on. I've been using it for about a year and a half now. I can't go back to any other toothpaste. Um, you should look forward to brushing and especially your kids. It should be a wonderful event. We took out a lot of ingredients that was very difficult to do. And the big ones that we took out were the emulsifiers and surfactants. We took out all the soap that destroys the lining of the mouth and the oral microbiome. We took out fluoride, of course, which you've heard me talk about a lot. And we took out some other things. We added a little xylitol and some wonderful things. And again, here's the issue though. There's the toothpaste, that category shouldn't exist, but it does exist because we created a problem before that, and which became apparent before World War I. A lot of the GIs that were going into battle had horrible teeth, and as it turns out, and this is still the case today, soldiers don't do very well when they're in pain, when they have tooth pain. No brainer, right? So that's when toothpaste came online. That's when Pepsodent came out with their first formula. There were national ad campaigns that were psychologically geared towards getting people to brush, and it helped to some degree. And then we added fluoride, and which didn't help. But anyway, it was all about our diet, and it has changed drastically. We've genetically modified it. We've made so many changes. We've processed it. We bleached it. We broke it down into small, small particles, and then we enriched it. We added back products. I mean, we've messed and meddled with it to the point where it's really not food anymore. For example, a box of Cheerios. It's not a healthy food. It's not good for your heart. I know the American Heart Association recommends it. That is absolute hogwash. Anyway, so we created the what we think is the best toothpaste on the market. This is our mascot, the narwhal. That actually is a tooth. It's the upper left canine. Kids love that. You can buy this. So if you buy the toothpaste, maybe add this and make it a game. The narwhal does appear on the two of the tubes. We actually added a nano toothbrush. I'm seeing a lot of toothbrush abrasion with electric toothbrushes, even with manual toothbrushes, even with high quality toothbrushes. You've heard me talk about the end running procedure, throwing away your toothbrush every 2 to 4 weeks because it becomes abrasive. This is something new. It's not going to replace an electric toothbrush for everyone, but I definitely recommend you have these on hand for travel and and especially if you have sensitive teeth, and for those times that when you really want to get toothpaste on the teeth. This is remarkable at holding toothpaste. It's like a kind of a leather chamois soaked in minerals, the hydroxyapatite from the toothpaste, and it really rubs it in nicely and coats your teeth with that desperately needed mineral layer. So the toothbrush, we've got a tongue scraper as well. Tongue scraping is wonderful. You don't have to buy this one, the Fygg one. They're all about the same. Buy this type of tongue scraper. And scrape daily. Again, another study, and I think we talked about this in an episode this year. Not only does taking away mouthwash lower your blood pressure, but scraping your tongue lowers your blood pressure even more. And again, that has to do with the oral microbiome that's living on the back of your tongue, producing all that great stuff, nitric oxide, the wonder drug, the magic pill. Okay, one more thing. We're going to end it here. Our company also produced a varnish. This is that product only available to dentists. You need a dental license. That's the coating that you get after you've had your cleaning. Typically, kids get it up until age 14. Adults and the elderly will get it due to high caries rate, dry mouth if you're a geriatric patient, sensitivity to root sensitivity if you've been brushing too hard and you have receding gums. Again, it has nano and micro hydroxyapatite. It has L-arginine in it. It's based on this formula of toothpaste, xylitol, but it's much stronger. And instead of having your teeth coated with a fluoride varnish, which by the way is quite a bit stronger than any other source of fluoride your kids are being exposed to, it's got 24,000 parts per million of fluoride. Toothpaste is 1,100. Big difference there. And they're going to swallow it, even if they're using trays or if they're using a thick resin. There are also a lot of chemicals in these varnishes. I did a episode on this as well rather recently. I'll include that in the show notes describing this whole process, what to look for. Definitely call your dentist. If you're used to being fluoride shamed when you go to the dentist, you tell them you don't want it, they get upset, or even worse, they tell you to go elsewhere. Just tell them about this, and they can charge for it. They can, in 2024, they can bill for it. There'll be a billing code for it. So there's no reason why they can't use it or shouldn't be using it. It works as well, in some cases better, than fluoride, and it doesn't have all the chemicals. Propylene glycol, for example, which has been banned in Europe, it's here in modern varnishes. There are other chemicals, and obviously it doesn't have any fluoride in it, so it protects your child's brain. And speaking of protecting the brain, I just want to end on something that's going to happen next year. And I've been talking about it this year and the previous year, and this is that lawsuit against the EPA on putting fluoride in the water, on why that's not a good idea. This is a really very, very interesting lawsuit, and I'm hoping that we get a good result. The last 2 weeks of the lawsuit are in San Francisco in a federal court, last week of January, maybe the first week of February. I plan on being there. I'm going to try and get into the courts. Up until this point, it's all been done on Zoom, which I've attended. And that could be a historical moment and a big, big push in the right direction for dentistry. And the good news is that if we can't use fluoride anymore, we already have a replacement for it. Business as usual. No interruption in good, solid remineralization therapy for our patients, and it's already in our toothpaste. So I'm very excited about that. Just a real quick tease on that. A lot of the depositions are hitting the web right now. The video copy of the depositions. These are depositions of CDC scientists. I'm going to get into much more detail in this, especially in late January next year. But a lot of these depositions, you'll hear questions being asked, and the CDC scientists or researchers agreeing with the fact that with exposure to fluoride, that gets into the bloodstream and gets past the blood-brain barrier into the brain, increases free radicals, and increases free radicals, causes inflammation of the brain, and an increase in the incidence of Alzheimer's. I mean, what more do we need to hear from these depositions to know that this is a bad thing for us, especially for our kids? So again, as I said, I'm going to spend some time with my grandchildren this Christmas, and every day I'm with them, I'm in the back of my mind, I'm thinking, wouldn't it be great if we could get rid of fluoride? Wouldn't it be great if children didn't have to ingest fluoride anymore? It's a pain in the neck to filter. It costs money. A lot of people aren't aware of it. It's in formula. It's in breast milk. When a pregnant woman drinks it, it gets to her fetuses, to her child's brain. Enough of this. It needs to end. So I'm just hoping that Judge Chen has some grandchildren, as do I, and that he's thinking of them as well. This would be a great time. And I've heard that this is his last case. I'm hoping that he listens to all the data, which in my mind is overwhelming. And the CDC and the EPA really haven't supported their case very, very well. And all you have to do is go online, go on YouTube, go to the Fluoride Action Network, watch the videos of the depositions, and you're going to wonder, why isn't this bigger news? When you Google it, it's hard to find. I won't go into that, but I'm hoping that 2024 will be the year that we get rid of fluoride, and that our children will be smarter for it, and maybe the incidence of Alzheimer's will be affected as well in the elderly. So that would be great. And of course, I will be reporting on all of that and passing all that information to you. In the meantime, there are fluoride-free products. You can floss with PFAS-free floss. You can floss with a floss stick that does more than floss. You can test your oral microbiome. You can take probiotics. that I actually like. Mouth tape. Mouth taping is not just about sleeping, it's also about protecting your oral health. You can squirt xylitol up into your nasal passages, scrape your tongue, brush your teeth, and I'll see you in 2024. Have a great holiday season. And again, thank you so much for listening and also for your interest in oral health.